Hello, guys. Welcome back. Let me ask you a question. Let's say we all went out together and we were all super hungry, right? And we came across this free buffet and it was legit and it was a huge buffet and they would let us eat as much as we wanted and they were encouraging us and it wasn't a trap and there was nothing wrong with the food. It was a free buffet and it had all our favorite foods and we could eat as much as we wanted. And they were begging us to come in. We'd do it, right? We would, and we would be kind of cautious, and we'd be kind of looking around like, "Is this a trap?" And we'd be kind of looking at each other like, "No, there's no such thing as a free meal. What's going on here?" But we go in, we have a great time, and the next time we go by, they're like, "Come in, come in, come in," and they never charge us, and it's always a free buffet. And then after a while, we get used to going there, right? Because man, we can go in there and gorge on all of our favorite foods, and they give us like 6 or 7 to go containers to go home. We become fat lazy. We don't have to worry about putting food on the table anymore or doing anything because these people will do everything for us. They will go out of their way to help us and to give us food. So we stop buying groceries, we stop going to other restaurants because we can go to this free buffet anytime we want. So what am I talking about? Sometimes we do that with gods and we don't realize it. Sometimes we go out of our way when we see a group of gods for whatever reason and we put out the free buffet for them. And they're as cautious as we would be coming in and they're kind of looking around like, is this a trap? I know this is a trap. And after a while, they get used to it and they realize it's not a trap and they realize we're just soft. And they're like, they'll feed me, they'll give me an altar, they'll buy me statues, they'll do shit, and I never have to do anything. And they start to take advantage, just as we would start to take advantage of that buffet. We might say, no, 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 I would start to work, or I would clean, or I would do something. And maybe we try in that example, and they're like, no, 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 you don't have to work, you don't have to do anything. And we get used to it, right? We all get a group of gods we act that way around, and I would love to know why, but we all get a group of gods we set the free buffet out around that we're like, you don't have to work. I don't want you to work. Just come in, just be loved and adored, just be, given stuff. And then what happens? Because we're humans and we're not the magical buffet owners, we eventually do have to ask for help, right? And we say, well, I know I've said you didn't have to do anything, but here's a list of stuff I really need, and they're in the middle of gorging themselves, right? Because you've treated them like royalty up until this point, and you've never asked something of them, or if you did ask something of them, you were so timid you scampered away if they even looked at you. What are they going to do? They're going to go back to gorging themselves and ignoring you because they know you don't mean it. So we all get groups of gods like that. And you have to recognize which your groups are that are going to just come in and eat at the endless buffet and take advantage, and which gods aren't. And we all have different groups that will work with us and won't. So Odin cleaned house is what Odin did. He yelled at me through the runes today. He was like, "You're trying to do something," and basically we talked about it. And we had talked last couple of days, and we talked last night. And he's like, basically, with some people, he didn't use the endless buffet thing. So he said, you're kind of a doormat with some groups of gods, and you cannot assert yourself. So I'm taking the option out of your hands. So he kicked some people out, and he had to because we all do that. And I think it's because we want groups of gods to like us, and we want them to love us, and we're attracted to them, and they have wonderful stories. And we just become an instant doormat and we let them walk over us. And if we do insert ourselves every so often, we feel extremely guilty, don't we? We feel horrible, especially if they're smart enough to act like they're terribly aggrieved and hurt. And I was just told recently that the group that I was being a doormat for and I was treating like royalty and setting the endless buffet out for, they didn't intend to work. And I looked at them like, what? Like they're in the middle of gorging themselves on the endless buffet of yum, and they're like, yeah, we're not going to work. We don't intend to do anything because you never make us do anything, and we don't intend to do anything for you ever. But you're going to take care of us, and here's our list of demands. Because eventually, as good as we'd have it at that buffet, we would start to whine that there was this one thing we really wanted. And we would expect the buffet owners to capitulate, wouldn't we? We'd be like, you've given us everything before. Well, no. So Odin played clean house. So yeah, we have a demon Nordic household now is what we have. And it sounds unfair, but Odin has pointed out we all have limited resources, whether they're financial or physical or emotional or whatever they are that we have to spend in our lives. And you shouldn't be unkind and you shouldn't ever, you should, how do I put this? You shouldn't ever not do charity. Like we're still doing the charity thing towards COVID with the Bing points. And you shouldn't ever not give to a food bank or something. Of course you should. But you also shouldn't be a doormat either. There's a difference between giving to charity because you're capable of doing so, and there's a difference of being a doormat and letting every penny be drained out of your bank account for everybody that has a sob story too. So you have to learn to, and especially at a time like this is so turbulent, that sounds heartless, but you have to kind of learn to put yourself first and kind of be assertive and kind of stand up for yourself, especially if you're going to work with the Norse gods. You have to learn to stand up. Odin loves to make his people fight him. He loves to make his people stand up. He loves to make them justify what they get, and he will make you justify every other group of gods you work with. And if they're not pulling their weight and they're not taking care of you, he doesn't have time for this. He doesn't give a shit how much you love them. He doesn't give a shit what kind of promises were made in the past or what kind of relationships you have. He's like, no, out. So he has a Nordic demon household, which I think is what I always default to anyways, because the other group of gods that I love, they'll come in for a little bit and then they flake out and they don't do anything. And it ends up the Nordic gods end up having to pick up the slack, and they didn't get the offerings, but they end up having to be the ones to pick up the slack. So they're like, no, this ends now. So at least for now, we're back to a Nordic demon household, which they love. And I would love to have an international House of Awesome back, but it does seem that as Odin's being more pragmatic and yelling at me more often in the runes, that one or two groups of gods does something, the demons and the Nordic gods do stuff, but everybody else kind of just lazes around and gets free handouts, and he's like, no, you don't have the time to do this now. I want you working on your studies, I want you working on your runes, I want you working on your relationships with the demons. You don't have time for this shit. You don't have time to be running a hotel for gods that just come in and laze around and don't do anything. And that's working with Odin. So I know that sounds kind of mean, but that's the thing. Taking care of each other doesn't mean being taken advantage of. So sometimes you have to realize where you're being kind of a doormat and you're setting out the endless buffet, and you're not being tough enough, and you have to kind of toughen up every so often. So if you guys like what you see, like, comment, subscribe. And that feels timely for one of you. I know there are certain groups that are my kryptonite, and we all know it, and I won't do shit to make them work, and they won't work either. So if you guys like what you see, like, comment, and subscribe. That did feel timely though. I don't know why, but I will see you guys later. Bye bye.